Anna, I'm so glad to finally see you.
Finally, we're doing it.
We're doing it, and Barbara actually was luckily you were here for the opening of the show.
It was wonderful.
It was
so
great
good.
to have.
I saw it in London as well, but this one was incredible.
Yeah.
I loved all the photography on
Thank
the
you.
background.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful, and as I mentioned, we expanded the exhibition to include a section on Barbara as a muse, which we'll be talking about. So, Anna, last week we opened an exhibition of the American artist Keith Haring, who at the age of 19 was inspired by seeing unexpectedly to see the retrospective of the Belgian artist Pierre Alechinsky in 1977 at the Carnegie Institute Museum in Pittsburgh. And that was a watershed moment for him. He knew from seeing that exhibition that what he was doing was valid, and it was the moment where he knew what the direction of his art was going to be the rest of his career. Anna, you had a similar experience as a child seeing Barbara's work, and I wanted you to take us back to that watershed moment for you.
Yeah. I wonder if we should run the video and then we can stop it at the point where we have her dresses on display.
This is the video of our exhibition that was here.
So the way the exhibition was arranged was by archetype. And I have designed, I guess, in themes because there's nomad, fairy tale, and then, here's Barbara's section. So the first outfit, the black and white stripe, is called Alcatraz, as Barbara told me, and it belonged to Anita Pallenberg. I remember Anita showed me her archives. They were putting together a Rolling Stones exhibition, and she sent me all the slides of all the pieces that were being considered for the exhibition. And I just loved that piece. And when we did the exhibition in New York at the Museum of Arts and Design on Columbus Circle, we had that on display. And then also Bonnie really loved that too, so we included this in the show. And then these three dresses were what really caught my eye. As like a kid, I loved 17 magazine. My babysitter would bring 17 magazine to our house every month. And there was this great story about Biba, and she had done patterns with McCall's. So this was the story. And I just had never seen colors like this, prints like this. I probably didn't know what Art Deco was, but I loved like the bonnets and the hats and the romance of the photography by Sarah Moon. And even the selection of the models. Again, kind of became what I looked for when I was casting, especially for my cosmetics ads. I loved the big eyes, the round face, which is Barbara's drawings. And here's the patterns. So my mom bought me the patterns, and
terrific.
I remember making this dress with the little capelet.
How old were you?
I must have been maybe junior high school, or, I mean, if I still had a babysitter, so 12, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah.
Do they make patterns anymore that you could buy? No.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They
Yeah.
should redo them.
Yeah.
It's just right now. I
Yeah,
think.
it would be
Yeah.
perfect. And then the man who curated the original show, Dennis, found these. Dennis is the one who found these dresses, I think, in England. There was a collector that had these, and they were the closest that we could find to the original from the Sarah Moon story. And the other thing that I asked my mom to do is take me to Bergdorf Goodman's, because I read that there was a small Biba shop at Bergdorf, and it was called Biba at BG. And when I saw this photograph, my friend Stephen Meisel sent this to me like a couple months ago. It brought me so back to that moment, seeing the display of all these dusty colored T-shirts. And it's a little light here, but she had this beautiful teal dress on and with a matching teal hat. And that's what I was really taken with, is the fact that there were these colors that I'd never seen before for clothing: plum, teal, taupe, smoke. And then there were cosmetics that matched, boots that matched. So, Barbara, where did these colors come from?
I was about to ask that myself.
Well, they're very influenced by my aunt, who was terrorized us as children because she said we looked so awful. And she had all these amazing deco clothes, old crepes things. But I wanted to do everything matchy-matchy because it was sort of easier for people to understand it at that stage, at 64, 60s really. Yeah.
Was it hard to get all those different things manufactured, like boots and hats and?
Oh yes, we did everything ourselves. We had in my office it was before you could get the color swatches.
Yeah.
So we had to have somebody sitting there all day, every day, and mixing colors in gouache for different manufacturers to send out. And it was really difficult when the stuff came in because the colors it wasn't as easy as the PDF things now. But, it was worth it.
And the decor, like this is the makeup counter, and you can see from the makeup that's in the lobby that I was very influenced by the Biba makeup. So where did you come up with this concept and the ostrich plumes? I remember seeing those.
I hated flowers. I didn't like flowers dying, so I thought let's do the feathers. But I don't know if it's so okay to use them now. But they didn't die, so they worked really well.
They fell off the birds.
Yes.
And all the colors, did you oversee all that, and was that all manufactured in England
absolutely
too?
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing that sort of thing before Biba, and yes, I was doing illustration and colors and all that sort of thing.
I remember the great story that you told me about Jane Holzer, when you saw Jane Holzer coming through the office.
My God.
Tell everybody that story. That was
Jane was here
incredible.
last night.
Yeah.
Was she?
Yeah.
But last time I told her that story, she looked so shocked that I didn't like to repeat it. But
It's a great story.
The thing was that I was doing illustration, and I was doing a lot of work with all the really big people like Dior, and illustrating the stuff. And I found that I had no clothes. I couldn't find any clothes for me. I felt so like some poor old, cousin from. Anyway, and I had to meet the Tatler magazine, Liz Dixon, in this hotel lobby. And I walk in there and I see this absolute incredible apparition, which was Jane sitting there. And she looks completely out of a Italian film, Dolce Vita or something. And she was golden, suntanned, golden, this incredible hair was kind of backcombed, and this incredible zebra, blonde and black zebra coat.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. Also, she was young. I was so sick and tired of seeing old ladies looking elegant. It's true. Because all the shows and that I was working on always were for ladies who lunched all the clothes of Dior, Givenchy, and all the big people. And then not until Audrey Hepburn came along that you felt, oh, thank God, you know, here's a person, you know, that we can follow, that one could follow.
Well, that's interesting perspective, because you're really one of the first of the designers to really tap into youth culture as opposed to working from high fashion. So can you talk about, you know, how you engaged with that youth culture, both taking from it and giving back a look for
well, that
mod?
that was the obvious thing in England, because there was this incredible war babies, and incredible generation. I had met Fitz then, and we were both the same age when we were 24, and we were considered old.
That's your late husband?
Yes, my husband. And there was this incredible, and I was so desperate to get clothes myself. I mean, I was 24, but I thought I was very old. But so Fitz said to me, I think you should go back to designing. Let's try a shop. And we tried one dress, and I think it was the Daily Mirror, sorry, Felicity Green put the picture in, and it was a pink gingham dress. It was supposed to be pink in a way. And it came out 2-3 days later after they photographed it. And Felicity rang me up and she said, have you got the fabric? I said, oh yes, lying my heart out. Oh yes. She said it's going to be very big, because it was a sort of a third of a page of a double page spread. And we sold eventually 19,000 and of one size, one color.
Amazing.
But gingham is a pattern that's so associated with America.
Well, Bridget Bardot at the time was wearing pink gingham, which I was hoping for pink, but it turned out to be sort of prune color eventually. Because, I mean, because with gingham, it's a woven fabric, so it's very long date. You know, it takes a long time to
so
get
you had
it
to buy a
done.
stock fabric?
Oh my gosh,
something-
yes. And this man came to us eventually, and he said, I hear you're looking for gingham, pink gingham, and we said, yes, fantastic. We hand him over all this cash, and he goes off, and he delivers, and Fitz was in his office, and his secretary said, Fitz, I think this doesn't look pink, and it looks very, very big gingham. It was like a tablecloth size. So Fitz rings me up, and I said, oh, quickly send it round to me in a cab. And I nearly died when I saw it. It was bright red. It's like for tablecloths for you know, French restaurant. That was terrible. And he gave us the money back, which was amazing.
Why did it appeal so much? The way you're describing it doesn't sound like it would appeal. One size, one look, 19,000 dresses.
Yes.
But
What
probably
was the appeal?
there weren't a lot for young women at that point.
No, there was no
Yeah.
market at all, and it was 25 shillings. Because
Wow.
I had this meeting with Felicity Green, who said, I want this dress for 25 shillings. I said, oh yes, of course. And then when I got home, I said, dare never make a price without me there. But we made a halfpenny from each dress, so we were really we were okay. we started a business then, maybe on that.
Well, seeing this picture, I actually saw the store, I think it was in 75, which I guess it's the year it closed in London, Knightsbridge. I was there with a school...
High Street, Kensington.
Yeah. I was there with a school trip, and I hadn't looked at this picture, but that's how I completely remember it in my head. it was a complete environment. It was a complete experience. And it was so strong that it has stayed with me to this time. And Anna, you similarly have this total vision. The show was called The World of Anna Sui.
Yeah. Well, I think I took a lot from Barbara. Here's another view of the makeup counter with the black plumes, peacock feathers.
Those are ostrich feathers. They were not ostrich, no, peacock feathers.
And the packaging.
Yeah.
And when we went to Biba at BG, my mom bought me a teal t-shirt and teal eyeshadow. But I wasn't allowed to wear the eyeshadow, so I still have the eyeshadow.
Well, it's at least 50 years old. Careful.
And then the images from Biba, like this is Twiggy, photographed by Justin de Villeneuve, who was her husband at the time. But I mean, just look at those dark lips and the dark colors around her eyes, and it's just so Biba.
I used to see her coming into the first shop, and she was at school, and she would come in on a Saturday, and she would just stand there, and I'd look at that head, and I think, my goodness, this is Greta Garbo. Yeah. This is just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. It was, and she would just watch and go away and come back again. And she was so tiny. Later on, when I got to know her, that we had to make special things for her. Our stuff was very tiny, and we had to make special, smaller sizes.
And Ingrid Bolting, again, is so like the iconic Biba
well,
girl.
Apparently I ruined her career.
Oh.
She's amazing, yeah. She's very deco, yeah.
And Stephanie Farrow, Mia Farrow's sister.
That's her little sister, Mia Farrow's sister. She was adorable. She was very nice. What we did with the catalogs is that I wanted to do photography to show the girls how to wear the stuff and how to, the photography, the color, and not to overdo things, and which was really, it worked really well, and we did that for quite a few years.
I'm sure it gave so much to aspire to look like those girls and to wear the makeup that way and the hair that way and dress that way.
And that's how we needed the cosmetics, we needed the shoes, we needed the tights, we needed, once you start dressing people, you find you.
And the people that worked in the store?
I'm sorry?
The people that worked in the store too, did they had that look also?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because that first picture that I showed you from Bergdorf, that was the first time I saw anybody that looked like that.
Yeah.
With the teal hat and the teal t-shirt and the plume, and yeah.
They were very happy to sort of be shown the way, because nobody had any idea in England at that stage. Mm-hmm. There was wonderful stuff in France, but not in London. There was nothing, really.
But then you had all the celebrities coming to your
yes,
store.
The music, yes.
Yeah.
What happened was that Fitz, my husband, I couldn't get him into a shop when I was going shopping. So I thought, well, we've got to have lots of sofas and places for them to hang out. And that worked because that kept the boys in, so brought the boys in to watch, to look at the girls and whatever.
How important was the celebrity? You had all the rock musicians would hang out there, and movie stars. And how did that? I mean, that became the look of when we think of London, London, and then it spread to.
Well, it's funny because when I used to I love famous people, so I used to go into shop every day and say, "Who's been in?" Because the girls were so blasé, Oh, so-and-so's been, or so. And there's this man standing over there, and he's asking us all out. And I look, and it's one of the big Italian stars, in Dolce Vita.
Marcello?
Yes, Marcello. I thought, whoops. It was just so funny. No, it's incredible. The only person I was absolutely terrified who came in made us close the shop, and all the security came in. It was Princess Anne, and I thought, if that ever comes out, we're finished. Our business is over. So she stomped around and said, I've been told to come in here. She was great, though. She's very funny.
Well, Anna, you too, you were so much part of the rock scene as well, both drawing from it, but also giving its look and then pretty much disseminating it out to a wider public.
Well, my whole purpose when I decided that I wanted to do my own collection was to dress rock stars and people that went to see bands. And it grew out of that, but that's what I wanted to do. And the exciting thing is the first, when we did menswear for the runway, the first customer was Mick Jagger and then Nick Rhodes. And through the years, I dressed like a lot of the rock stars. And Madonna was a huge supporter of my collection from the very beginning, too.
But I must say, in our day, the rock stars were unknown. So they kind of came in, later on they became known. Because I always remember somebody saying, don't you know so-and-so? I said, no. Yes, you do. He makes our coffee for us on Ready, Steady, Go. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Anita told me that she just wore only Biba for the longest time.
Really?
Especially the
She
stripe
looked great.
pieces.
Yeah.
The stripe pieces. Yeah, and then she wore the corduroy coat in Morocco with the feather boa.
Yeah.
And people were coming up and touching the feather boa because they didn't know what it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What color was it?
I don't know, because I've
Purple,
only seen
probably.
black and white, but maybe plum. Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah,
Because she had
definitely.
it looked like cream corduroy, like
Yeah.
the wide whale, and maybe the matching hat, and then she had this boa around her neck. It
Oh,
looked
right.
like it could have been plum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biba shop. Oh, and these are the kind of dresses that Anita had.
If you want to tell people who Anita is.
Oh, Anita Pallenberg was Keith Richards' girlfriend and one of my big icons and a good friend. And so I got to ask her a lot of these questions. So that's how I know all these little tidbits. Is because when I would see pictures of her, I'd say, "Oh, where'd you get this? What are you wearing?" And she'd always tell me about it.
Well, we got right at the beginning in the first shop, the company that made all the footballers' T-shirts, and I got them in, and I said, I want them long and short and tight, and okay, are you sure?
Didn't you, Barbara, is it apocryphal, or the story of the origin of the mini dress?
Oh, yeah.
Was that an accident?
With us, yes, very much so. Well, things were kind of shortish, but this one delivery comes up, because we used to have like daily deliveries from this wonderful manufacturer, and he was Greek, Mr. Sava. And we send the fabric in, which was a jersey, and you're supposed to rest the fabric in those days. Maybe nowadays you don't have to do that. And so it sort of goes back to shape. Well, Mr. Sava had Fitz is ringing him, I want the delivery, da, 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 da. So he's rushing it, so he cuts it when it's still, stretched out. So when it comes into the shop, it's hanging there, and the skirts are getting shorter and shorter. And I was feeling sick. I thought, that's the end of us. We're going to go bankrupt now. This is the end. So I go home and I'm crying. And Fitz says, get back here quickly. They're selling out like mad.
And And the artwork in your store, like I
Oh, that
always
was-
loved this picture.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing your exhibition in Brighton, and you had that whole little section
Yeah.
on Osborne,
Yeah.
is it? John Little?
Tony,
Tony?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, Anthony, he likes
Anthony,
to be called, Anthony Little. But this was amazing because it was painted on the back of the mirror, of the glass. And then one night we hear the police are onto us. They say, there's been a huge explosion in your shop. And one of these glass things exploded because of the heat. Because the paint was, you know, yeah, it just, expanded the, so that was a bit scary.
You know, one of the other things that ties both of you together is that you work collaboratively. And how important is the collaboration for, well, I know Anna, you work collaboratively. Last week we had Garen,
Yes.
you're a longtime stylist, hairstylist, all your shows, but you've also worked with same photographers. And can you talk about how you work collaboratively?
Yeah, it becomes your second family, and they kind of understand what you're talking about when you throw out words like Art Nouveau or Rolling Stones, or they kind of go on that same journey with you. And I've been blessed to have worked with almost all the same people throughout my career. And I think you could see it in the show, the consistency of the jewelry, of the photography. James Coviello did all the sweaters and hats, and he had that same playful feeling that I was trying to get across. And I remember he did the little doggy backpacks and the bear hats, and I just knew he could do anything, and he could do it beautifully and with a sense of humor. And so I was blessed to find these people and be able to work with them throughout.
I must say, in our day, they didn't have the professionals. We had to do everything ourselves. And you had to dig up the girls from the shop to come in, because they got hired for their looks. And skinny.
But as the result, you have a total look.
Oh, yeah.
You think of the Biba look, not just the clothes. It's the Biba, the Anna Sui look. And it's a total image.
Yeah. But you need that team to help you keep the consistency of the look, and just kind of focus that consistency to make the look, which, I think Barbara is the expert at that. Everything was so focused.
We used to have to do everything ourselves. People would have to just learn how to do it, and it was really interesting.
And the decor of her shop, again, was such an inspiration to me.
Well, when I was 24 and I went into a shop, there would be this dragon of a woman who would just give you hell. You had to sort of look at the stuff, and she'd give you a rundown on some horrible garment that you wanted to get away from. So I thought, when I have my shop, people can go and play with the clothes and try them on. And we had a communal changing room, and which was purely financial, because it was easier to do one big changing room and not do the divisions. In fact, we were about to put in the divisions, and then everybody just came in and took their clothes off. And so we thought, hello, we leave it like this.
And then the way you did so many colors, like the assortment, that was incredible. Was that really hard to do, because there's always the minimums involved? And
no, because what we would do, we would buy the base fabrics, and there weren't that many base fabrics, and then you would dye the 16 colors, and then you would have that in your store, either in the basement or store, and then you do your orders from your fabric. So and the same with prints.
The stripes too, and
yes, but then you had to invest in all the fabric. Yeah, which was interesting. And then one day, this amazing man, buyer from Pontings, which was a really old-fashioned store, department store, and he said, I think you should come and visit my storage, his fabric department. And I did. I went up there and I nearly went crazy. It was 1930s fabrics up to the ceiling.
Wow.
Prints, thousands of prints. And he said, I don't know what to do with this. I said, send it to us. We'll take it. It's incredible. And basic fabrics, which were fabulous, was crepe de chines. And
the moss crepe. Like
yes,
there was like a moss
yeah.
crepe. Yeah.
And then we had this amazing company up in Manchester who did all the prints for us at that stage. And I was showing them all the fabrics that we're digging up. And they said, oh, we know Mr. So-and-so who developed all these fabrics for us in the 30s. And we'll get him out of, he's resting now, but he'll come and... So he was brought out and he developed all the crepe de chines. And yeah, it was amazing. People loved doing it,
Wow.
You both were so influenced by Art Nouveau and Art Deco. What's the appeal?
I think that just my eye is drawn to that, like the swirliness. I remember in my teenage bedroom, I changed it all over to like Aubrey Beardsley posters, and then I had a wicker headboard. Again, probably influenced by Barbara, because I probably saw pictures of like the Art Nouveau things in her store.
Which then influenced all the early rock posters.
Yeah.
The psychedelic look.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, my family were from that period, and everything was Art Nouveau, and it was also, the English were very old-fashioned, all the grandmothers and things, so it was all that sort of feeling that was coming in from the royals. Hello.
Well, Barbara, not only did you tell me about how the mini dress was born, but you also told me about the origin of the maxi or the granny dress.
Yes, golly. Because I was thinking, it's going to go long. It's got to go long because of the sort of 30 styles, and it didn't move. No, we tried it, and what story did I tell you?
The origin was that the young girls looking for, this is, not early 60s London, it's still having the rationing of the post-war period. Nobody had, there weren't fashion, there wasn't, that kind of abundance. And so the young girls looking for new looks would go to the, like, Portobello Road, to the antique shops. And what are the clothes that are there?
Yes, they're vintage.
They're vintage.
Incredible
they are literally
vintage.
granny's dresses from the attic.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the long skirts.
they were the original granny dresses.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it wasn't. And then there was a film that came out, I think, with big one, and then it sparked it off, because at first they weren't that. I don't know about that long thing, because they were all into this. That was getting shorter and shorter.
Was it like a Victorian movie?
Yes, yes. No, it was a 30s, fake
movie.
30s one.
Like
I can't
Italian
remember.
or French?
No, American.
English.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Or Butch,
No, there was
Butch and the Sundance Kid, because Sally
Yes.
McGraw was wearing
Yeah.
those sort of prairie dresses in it.
But nothing that you did where you worked out, we must do this. It had to come from the floor when they actually wanted it. And you pick up the vibes. And then the girls in the shop would tell you what they were moaning about, which is really interesting.
I mean, there were no focus groups or corporate.
No.
Well, that's what,
this is-
exactly what, I go into this, like when there used to be stores and the big department stores are buying stuff, it's like, listen, this is what I want to wear. In the shop sales would say,
Yeah.
yes, we keep telling the buyers that, but they're not listening to us.
Yeah, because it's usually people who've placed the orders. They just order stuff that sold well last time.
Looking at numbers.
Yes. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Colors and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the Art Nouveau wallpaper at Biba.
Yes. Judy Hodges. She was Judy Hodges, yes.
Ooh.
She did our paper.
And here's Barbara.
God. So one day I didn't wear any makeup.
Beautiful.
You
I
didn't
knew
need
it
it.
would
Sorry.
follow you forever.
Is that a Sassoon haircut?
I'm sorry?
Was that up
No, we were more Leonard. There were two hairdressers. So soon they did the more
Geometric,
cut,
yeah.
which nobody wore except Mary. And
Mary
then-
Quant.
What?
Mary Quant?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then Leonard was, because there was a TV program, Ready, Steady, Go, which Kathy McGowan was.
Yeah, which inspired my last collection.
Yes, I
Yes.
mean, she was amazing. And she was such a, and they all went to Leonard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a really interesting, which was much long hair and just really beautifully, and fringes, very long fringes, just like, yeah, right. Still wearing, yeah.
And then this is my Biba-inspired collection from spring
It's
94.
more Bieber than Bieber. Lovely.
What was the story about the hats?
Because I saw them in that McCall's story with the patterns. So I thought that was the Biba, the look. And then I realized that Sarah Moon loved to put things on the head. She was the photographer, yeah. But I thought everything had to have a hat. And so that was my hat that matched the dresses.
That sort of came from baby clothes, because
Yeah.
babies always had matchy-matchy.
And then the boots, too, I tried to make them look like Biba, but I worked with John Fluvog on these, and then we appliqued butterflies on them. But they were canvas, because weren't
Yes.
some of your boots canvas, too,
Oh,
and
gosh,
suede?
yes.
Yeah.
We must have sold about 6-7 million of one style. They used to queue for the boots that came in daily at certain colors and certain sizes, and they would ring up and say, "What's in?" And you'd say, 8, plum or whatever. Yeah, it was amazing. And the thing was, with Fitz and I were very close, but I never discussed clothes when we went home, because we had enough to laugh about. But I had this thing about these boots were going on and on and on, and I'm nagging him every time we go home, and he said, "Oh, for God's sake." He said, "I don't want to do shoes anymore, because we keep getting left with left feet of old orders. And do you realize how much money we got tied up in the shoes?" So, in any case, so just to keep me quiet, he ordered like 100 pairs, which wasn't very much for us because the price was great. And they flew out. They flew out in like 2 hours, and we were in the boot business. So after that, he never argued with any of my bees in my bonnet. No, it's interesting. No, these are lovely.
Thank you.
Very nice. But we had so much work to do, like on the shapes, because people did not know how to pattern cut properly. They used to do awful pattern cutting that the big companies did, that, you know, once you put it on, it looked dreadful. Except
So you had to train your pattern makers?
yes, we would just go on and on and on, getting, I mean,
Yeah,
we
that
would,
high armhole that you would do in
Yeah.
the skinny sleeve, and yeah.
we'd have to make at least three samples and then send it to the manufacturer, and then he'd make a mess of it because he felt it was not right. He'd add.
And then the volume of the bottom,
Yeah.
which I don't think any manufacturer
No.
wanted to do it because it was a lot of yardage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
both of you also started your own companies as women.
Yeah.
And you've stayed fiercely independent, especially you, Anna, in an age where everything's conglomerates in the fashion field. And you've kept your vision very pure. How important was being independent and is being independent for you?
Well, I never got any offers. But I think that I liked the fact that I didn't have a boss also. And I think what helped a lot was the fact that I got licenses very early on, like the fragrance, like the cosmetics.
That's
'Cause
clever.
I
Yeah.
remember hearing that that's what Coco Chanel said, that you should get a fragrance and that will carry you through. You can do whatever you want with the clothes after that.
Yes, we had a fragrance that we did in this factory, and I was pregnant when we went to smell it, when they developed, and I was like almost throwing up. And we just said, oh, okay, go for it. And it was disgusting. It came in, but the bottle was fantastic. It was an old decanter bottle from whiskey. And it flew out. And we have, a few years ago, there's a woman that keeps ringing up and she said, where can I get this stuff? And it was the worst smelling thing I've ever.
Anna, I don't know if I've ever actually smelled any of your perfumes, but your perfume bottles are exquisite.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the idea behind our fragrance and the cosmetics, that I like saving things. I like saving packaging. And so I wanted to do things that nobody would ever throw away. So after they used it, they could reuse the little box that the rouge powder came in, or the powder box, the loose powder. They would save that box and put their jewelry in it. So I like that like pack rat sort of feeling. So that's the idea behind every fragrance and cosmetic packaging that we do.
Consequently, they've become collectibles.
Oh, yeah.
Barbara, what year did you close Biba and you sold the
Can't
name?
remember.
Yeah, was that like 75 or something?
Yeah,
But you
76,
sold the
maybe.
name, right?
No,
no,
we
you
did not.
didn't
We
sell-
lost
oh, okay,
it.
but
No.
what, did you sell the company or what was?
No, what happened was absolutely, we had two wonderful partners who had Dorothy Perkins shops all over England, and they became our partners way back, and we got on like a house on fire because they understood shops and blah, 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 and all the problems of manufacturing for shops. And then they were taken over by a developer. And by then we had already got the big department store, which was, they didn't care about Biba, they wanted that building. It was really terribly sad.
So do you think, we've all, even before the pandemic, retail was changing, or, brick and mortar stores were gone. Do you think that there's any opportunity to come back for brick and mortar, for retail?
Do you know, I was thinking, in the 60s, there were these markets in London. Do you remember? Probably in New York. That's where it should be going, almost like the time out food thing, but with fashion.
You mean like the arcades that are in London?
Like
You
the way
go walk through
Kensington
arcades?
Market was, like when they
Yes,
had all
it
the
would have been
little
one big-
concessions and
this room, for instance.
Yeah.
And I think that would work, really give people a chance, a foothold on doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Because the rents are stupid now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't survive.
Yeah, because
rent.
in New York, in Chinatown, there's a huge building that there's a vintage store, and then the clothing line Ekauslata had a shop there. But I just read that they're tearing down that building. So it's economics.
Absolutely.
The landlords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a chance to show your wares, really. And I mean, you can't afford shop.
No, the rents are
even
crazy.
if they give you a a short lease and something. I notice even people like Goop have gone out of their quickie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anna, you have pretty much segued into being all online.
Yes, yeah, because the rents just got crazy and Soho was such a mess with looting, and then we had a big disaster of a big water main break and flooded the whole basement, so, and my lease was up. So then I thought, okay, it's a sign that I have to move on to the next thing. So we have everything online now.
What makes it successful online?
yeah, tell
I don't
us.
know. Because it's hard because, you need a lot of sales because it's
Yeah.
one by one. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
with wholesale, you're selling quantities to people, but online, it's one by one.
Well, when we had the show last year, you reissued your vintage Florida
Yes.
pattern dress, and the first weekend there was actually a fist fight here because we were down to the last one, and I called you. It was a
Yeah.
Sunday, and I said, Anna, can you make some more? And by the end of the week, she did. And I noticed there are a number of people in the
Yeah,
audience
wearing it.
today
Yeah,
wearing their
Ah.
Florida dress.
And she has
Good.
the long dress on. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
That's fun.
So,
That's
but
nice.
it was, you were able to respond, and it was
Yeah.
a pattern that you only had a little bit of that fabric
Yeah,
left.
and then we had the same printer make more, and then we happened to have some left over when you needed more. So, because we had a minimum that we had to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it was very popular, plus we were able to get it to order.
But
you
yet
also-
you find somebody's sold 60 billion pairs of, online, just one piece. If you notice, Amazon just brings out one piece, which is very interesting now when they advertise. And I wonder how that goes, because, well, never mind.
These are all like homage to Barbara, like the plum color.
Not the knickers.
Was it also, the last 2 years, you also had to rethink the fashion show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved to digital. I was lucky enough to have my niece Isabel and my other niece Jeannie working on the videos. Isabel did all the production. And it was an interesting way to present the collection because, again, it's kind of the same thing when you do a fashion show. You have a story that you want to tell, but this way it's much more concise. It's, 5 minutes or less, and you can art direct the whole thing, cast the whole thing, and edit it the way you want to tell the story. So it's like a different way of doing a fashion show.
Do you think you'll go back to live fashion shows?
It's hard. It's hard to do, especially with the pandemic. There weren't a lot of models in New York. The models weren't traveling because it turned out that most of the models are international. And so it was really hard casting in the last few years. We did do a live show last spring, and it was a very difficult casting, where before, every model came to New York. Yeah.
So your production is all different from because we tried once a fashion show. When you have a shop or your stock is there, you've got 20 dresses, 200 dresses, whatever, and you're selling them. This way, right that day, you're not waiting for 3, 4, 5 weeks, from a fashion show. They don't want it right there and then, do they?
No, we have
Delivery
we
is
have like a
way-
6-month period almost to do
Yes,
the sales.
terrible.
And then order the fabric and then manufacture
Yeah.
the clothes.
And
But
can you-
then somebody came up with the bright idea of see now, buy now, which I don't know how you do because how can you stock that much?
Yeah.
So
you can't.
it's really, I don't think it really worked for anybody unless you do consistently the same thing over and over, or
Yeah.
the buyer comes to you for that same shirt, maybe in a new print.
Yeah. But then you're probably stuck with other prints. And
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this way, we've always like cut to order, so
Yeah.
there's not wastage that way.
Right. No, it's not easy. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be so scary now after this war.
Yeah, because that we were already having such trouble with getting fabrics because the
Yeah.
freight charges had more than doubled. The fabric prices
Yeah.
actually doubled because of the cost of the freight, and I don't know what's going to happen after this with the fuel charges and.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Well, people will find a way of doing it, I'm sure. But I think the most important thing is retail, is you get the excitement and the energy of seeing things hanging on a hanger.
Yeah, but
Don't
people
you?
don't go to stores anymore.
But
And there's not
Oh, I
many
think that-
shops either, especially the boutiques. No one could stay open because you have to do a certain amount to pay the rent, and the
Right.
rents are
Yeah,
so
yeah,
high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless
It's
that
interesting,
changes,
yeah.
it's really hard. Yeah.
You also, looking at your catwalks, your fashion shows, how many of the supermodels of the 90s got their start with you and stayed with you? I mean,
Well, even before I started doing the shows, I was friendly with Naomi and Linda and Christy because of my friend Stephen Meisel. So they would come over and we'd have birthday parties and dinners and things together. So when the time came to do the fashion show, Stephen said, it's time for you to do a fashion show, and Linda and Naomi will help you get the girls. And they did. They talked to all their friends, and everybody kind of pitched in.
one of the designs that we had here was the backless chaps that
Yeah.
Naomi made famous.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about that piece?
Well, again, it was kind of a subcultures thing, and then I thought, what better behind than Naomi's? And my assistant Thomas at the time, we met this guy that had temporary tattoos, and so he had the privilege of putting the rose tattoo on her behind. And I remember his father came to the fashion show, and he was not into fashion at all. He really came to New York for the Westminster Dog Show. But when she came down the runway, he was like nudging everybody. My son did that.
A word of advice, don't use your name, except you're about the only person on a business you start.
Well, I always
Your
heard
own name.
don't give up your name
Yes,
for
absolutely.
any contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that seems to be
Because
what a lot of designers end up
A lot
doing.
of, around the 80s and 90s, a lot of people lost their names.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's Naomi. That's the last of that.
That's
Do you have any connection or hands-on design work in fashion today?
Yes.
You do? Okay. This one. Oh,
But you're also doing a lot of photography too, Barbara.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And we didn't.
Fashion illustration has done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment where it was all the fashion illustration that was done by computer, but now it's gone back to the original drawing, and scanning it,
Yeah.
which I'm so excited about. Yeah.
in
I've
regards
got an exhibition actually coming.
in regards
Forgotten
to
about it. Next week, 15th, in Miami at the Sagamore.
and when
Well, you had an exhibition at the Betsy last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was photography.
Photography.
Which is so much more to set that up. But now with illustration, it's really fabulous. I'm really excited about that.
And really, not only did you create the look of Biba in the mod look of London, but your inspiration was Art Deco, and now you gave Miami Beach Art Deco its spice
Yes.
colors.
Yeah.
To the point that I bet most of you think that the way that the Art Deco district looks is original, but it's an original Barbara
Yeah,
Hulanicki.
I would like to tell the story about that because Mr. Blackwell said to me, I've just bought 10 buildings and I want them all to look like it's Jamaica. I said, Jamaica and Miami? Oh, all right.
It's one of the things that drew me to come to Miami Beach was the look that you gave. And we met pretty much when we arrived in Mazen and I arrived in 1990. Who's your favorite person to photograph, Barbara?
A photographer or a...
Who do you like to photograph?
You can tell certain people are going to be very photogenic. Yeah. It depends if you're doing fashion or you're... That's a little nose.
Did you art direct those photographs with Sarah Moon? Did you tell her what you wanted?
Oh, gosh, yes.
So it was your
They
vision.
look so much like your illustrations.
Yeah, they
Yes.
look exactly like
Yes,
your illustrations.
yes.
We had some of the illustration. We had the illustration of Jane Holzer in the show.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She was wonderful.
Yeah.
She is wonderful. Yeah, it's really good.
Hi, I have a question for Barbara. I just want to say to Anna, the exhibition was stunning.
Thank you.
And I told you earlier, I'm wearing one of the lipsticks that you sold. And it's my favorite. Just want to plug it. It's the best quality lipstick I've ever bought. It stays on for a long time, and I lick my lips a lot. So thank you for creating
Thank
that.
you.
And we have them available in the, in the museum
I
shop.
have two refills on hold in the shop right now. So, but my question is actually for Barbara. This is a thrill for me to meet you because I've been a big fan of yours forever. And I have a million questions, but I'm going to ask you just one. Have you seen the Queen movie that portrayed Mary when she worked at Bieber and was introduced to Freddie Mercury? And in the movie it says, that's Mary.
I told you about that story. In the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Then
Yeah.
Mary sort of meets it. She's working at the shop.
She's working at the
And Freddie
store.
Mercury comes in.
Yes.
And there's this whole scene. And,
Yeah,
and
where
you
she
were very
takes
funny
Freddie
when I
in.
told you about that, and you said that you'd never had pushy saleswomen.
Oh no, Mary was amazing. She was the sweetest girl on earth, and she was. In the big store, we put her on a sort of pedestal, on a plinth, and she had her little office on that, and people could go up to her and ask her directions and so on. You mean the story of?
In the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, the woman who becomes his girlfriend is the sales
Yes,
shop.
Mary.
Mary.
Yeah.
And you didn't like the portrayal because you said you never had pushy sales help.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Oh no, absolutely.
made it
not
But
at
she-
all.
but the movie
I thought you meant
actually
the
did
other story
too.
about Mary.
The movie did show the communal dressing room because she took him in there and she dressed him up in Bieber in the scene in the movie. So she took Freddie into the dressing room and she put these feather boas on
Yes.
him and
Yeah.
you know, the sequin jacket and the tank tops
Yeah.
and stuff. And it was a really great moment. I think it introduced a lot of people in America to Bieber because my daughter's here. She's called Bieber after your beautiful store. And when she was born, a lot of people would ask me, what does Bieber mean? They thought I was saying Viva. And I would say it was this amazing conceptual department store in the 60s, swinging 60s in London by a lady called Barbara. Now I say Hulanicki, is that incorrect?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
Because the nurse that was in the hospital in LA where I had her was Polish.
Oh yeah.
And I had the A to B Bieber Experience, your book, on the table. And she's in the little cot next to me. And the nurse comes in and said, I was crying because I was all emotional and I just had a baby, you know. And she said, oh, you like Bieber, Barbara Hulanicki. And I said, oh, Hulanicki. And she said, no, Polish, we say Hulanicki.
Nitski.
And I
Yes.
said, oh, right, okay. And then she said to me, I told her name was Bieber. And she was fabulous. This woman did this Reiki massage on me. She chilled me out after my birth. She was a godsend. And we talked about you for hours after I just had her. And we talked about Bieber and all the clothes and how much we loved it. And so, yeah, I just really love sharing that with you today. This is like an honor. Thank you for listening, everybody.
That's so nice. Oh, that was nice, yes. No, Fitz came to me one day when we were in the first shop. I need a name. Now. For the business. I thought, oh my God, I've got to find something quickly. My sister's name. It's a Lithuanian name. Short Bieber. Yeah.
That was your sister's name, Biba.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She has never forgiven me. There's a lot of little dogs called Bieber. Sorry. That's why I asked her. Did she like her name?
Great conversation, and I came to the exhibit as well here. It was wonderful. I was just going to ask you, Anna, around your Florida dress that you brought back.
Yeah.
Can you tell, is there any story behind that dress when you first produced it?
The collection was Americana, and it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek version of Americana. There were cheerleaders and cowgirls and also tourist things. And so when I came to Florida when I was 16, like the first thing I tried to do was find these souvenir scarves. And I collected some of them. And then I realized that you never see them anymore. So I found a vintage one, and then we had our print person redraw parts of it to make it more personalized, and that's where it came from.
I love it. I just was going to tell a story about the dress. So when I saw the article that you were coming, it was in the Sun Sentinel, and the picture of the dress was there. And we are really doing kind of a vintage Palm Beach Regency decorating in our house that we're redoing. And my husband had bought at an auction this huge framed vintage tea towel of Florida. And it was exactly what was on your dress. So when I saw the paper, I said, oh, I'm going to opening day for sure. And I wore that dress to lunch with a girlfriend in Palm Beach. I was stopped probably 35 times on Worth Avenue. People were stopping me saying, where did you get it? And I said, oh, it was at the art museum. It's Anna Sui. They would have me do videos of like turning around. I was like, what? And I went in one shop, and the lady was a fashion designer as well. And she just loved the flow of the dress. And so she literally stand and like take different pictures and all this stuff.
So wonderful.
It was really very popular. So I don't know if you want
I need your name because do you know that someone who saw you on Worth Avenue, and you know, obviously on Worth Avenue they have models from the different stores walking up and down. So a woman saw you and lived all the way in Key West, and she called our store and wanted to know if it was available. She drove up, even though we now have our store online. She came up to buy the dress and told us the story, and we've been seeking the wonderful model, so we need your name.
I think Sandy wanted to ask you.
Barbara, would you mind if I tell the story about the nail polish?
Which one?
Well, I've known Barbara a long time, and I was modeling for Vidal Sassoon and Mary Quant in the 60s, and I brought my daughters, age 5 and 6, some Biba black and charcoal green nail polish. And they wore it to kindergarten and first grade. And my first grade 6-year-old daughter, Leanne, was expelled from school because of her nail polish, which was her black Biba nail polish.
Sounds like she's a rebel with a cause.
And Anna, I wanted to ask you a question. We come from the same town, And you were talking about what influenced you with Art Deco and Art Nouveau. My influence was downtown Detroit, but that was many decades before
the
you.
Penobscot building, yeah.
Right. The Guardian building, the Fisher building.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like where I dreamed about Art Deco.
Yeah,
and-
because my dad worked in those buildings.
Oh,
So
did
that's
he?
how I saw them, but I didn't know what it was. But it resonated to me, and then when I started learning what it was, then I understood where the influence came from.
Thank you. Me too.
Hey, I think we have time for one more because Anna does have a flight to catch.
No, you have to stay.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Anna. You both created these immersive experiential worlds. You know, I mean, Barbara, your store, you went inside and it was an experience, no? And same with you, Anna, you create these things. I saw your exhibition in New York, beautiful.
Thank you.
We're moving towards digital, so how do you translate your world on a digital platform? You know, I think as much as I love it, I'm actually the dean of a university that shouldn't be saying this, you know, teach fashion. But I think that maybe the digital side is taking away the human side of fashion, especially when it comes to the retail experience. So how do you translate what your vision is, your world is, onto digital? How do you make sure the consumer still gets the same
If
experience?
you look at our website, if you look at our digital ads, we're doing it that way because it's a new audience and they're used to looking at things digitally. It's not my first preference, but we're learning, and Isabel is an expert at it and has been doing some amazing ads for us. It's really, really, really appealing. So I think that it's just something new to learn. It's a new medium to learn about for us, yeah.
It's the first one that you did with the pandemic, Isabel. It told a story, and
The videos, yeah.
the videos were amazing.
Yeah.
And I want that pie. One thing I
Yeah.
really wanted was the pie that was in that video.
And then the last show we did it digitally also. And we recreated Ready, Steady, Go. Because I saw the documentary about Ready, Steady, Go. And I never knew the whole story behind it.
Yeah.
And so I got really inspired. And then I was talking to my friend that had also seen it and telling him about my collection. He said, "Oh, you're doing Ready, Steady, Go." I was like, "Yeah, okay." And that's what gave me.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. It was so influential. Yeah.
Well, probably what it is, you know, instead of just translating the fashion show to digital, you've used it for what it can do, which is tell the stories. You have complete control over the look. And, you know, really, if that point and click right there, buy, makes it very easy. And Isabel did a beautiful job. And I also want to thank Isabel for coming down and stylizing our show. It's so amazing that what a difference that makes. We had specialists here who know how to dress mannequins, but then Isabel came in and like just twist the mannequin a little this way, pick up the dress a little here, and it transforms it from just garments hanging to something that is truly beautifully artistic. So you did a beautiful job. Thank you. And we had the top things. And we had Tom
Darren's
partner come in and stylize all the wigs and the hats, and that also made a big difference as well. And I was inspired by Barford Gifford, who is here with us today, who curated the show when it was at the Museum of Art and Design in New York, because I saw that she had used the backdrops from your previous fashion show, which they hadn't done in London. And we went ahead and ordered all those backdrops, which, as you could see, made a huge difference in presenting the show.
Fabulous. Great.
Well, thank you both. I get Barbara here all the time, so it's lovely. But it was such a pleasure and honor, Anna,
Thank you.
to finally get you here with. and have the opportunity to have, be able to have this discussion with Barbara Hulanicki along with Anna Sui. Thank you, Barbara.
I got to ask you things I wanted to know all these years.
Thank you. And you're also all welcome to go check out our new show of Keith Haring and Pierre Elishinsky. So thank you again, Anna. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you all for coming. Thank you to my staff. We've only done 5 programs in 1 week.